Hi, and welcome back to our podcast, Abilene People, where here on bigcountryhomepage.com, we talk to Abilene's most interesting people. And I think if you are a former professional dancer who's now a morning anchor on Abilene's oldest TV station, that qualifies you as one of Abilene's most interesting people. And even if all that's true, but even if it wasn't, you'd still be one of Abilene's most interesting people. Hi, Heather Easley.
Hello. Thank you.
How are you?
I'm great, and I'm interesting, so I'm glad to be here.
You're very interesting. You're very interesting. So,
I wouldn't think so, but
I think so.
But thanks for having me.
I think so. So I think you are a very interesting person, and I think Abilene loves you. And of course, you have this partner in crime now on KRBC. On the morning show, which is Abilene Today, and we call it the noon show, but it really is 11:30 a.m.
Right.
And it's Abilene Midday.
That's right.
So it's really not midday. It ends at midday.
Right.
But we call it Abilene Midday.
Pre-lunch hour.
Pre-lunch hour. And your partner in crime now is Carter Vandrossic.
Carter Vandrossic.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
the guy with the yawn. Good morning, Big Country.
Yeah, he's a funny guy. But you're doing a great job, and you've been on TV now here in Abilene in this market for about 3 years, 2 years, a couple of years.
Going into my third year. Yeah. So 2 years technically.
Where are you from? Where were you born and raised?
Well, you know, Danny, when people used to ask me this, I'd say Waco, Texas, and people would go, "Oh, Colt, Branch Davidians." We didn't have the greatest reputation.
Yeah, but you're not far as a crow flies from that area. But you're not in downtown Waco.
No. I live in China, I grew up in China Spring, Texas. And now I say China Spring. People know where China Spring is, surprisingly. I mean, it used to be like a no stoplight kind of town, but now we have a Starbucks. So
you got a Starbucks.
Moving on up.
Again, as a crow flies, that's twice I've used that term.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but here's three. As a crow flies, you're not far from Crawford and the former president's ranch.
Yeah, George W. Bush. That's right. Yeah, pretty
You go over there and see him very often?
Oh, yeah, we're best buds.
Yeah, okay.
No,
that's what I figured. Yeah.
So
China Springs, what kind of town was China Springs to grow up in? Because at that time, it probably was not even really a bedroom community for Waco. It's just a little town.
Oh, yeah, little tiny town. Honestly, in comparison, now there's about 1,400 people. And if I had to compare it to somewhere here in the Big Country, it's kind of close to Baird. Baird's a little bit bigger, just to kind of put it into perspective there. But yeah, I mean, back when I was a kid, all the schools were in one building. And now we've got like 4 massive schools. So that just kind of shows you the growth in good old China Spring, Texas.
What kind of classification is that? Is it like 2A, 3A?
It's a big 3A.
Okay.
All
right. Yeah. But you, big 3A, back in those days, it probably wasn't 3A. But
it's always been, well, actually, no.
Oh, okay. But a small 3A, and now it's a big 3A.
Yes.
And you kind of dominated the scene there, did you not? Did you not? You were like Miss China Spring, cheerleader, big girl on campus, this kind of thing, right?
I will say, I love to sign up for a lot of things, and it started when I was young. I like to be involved in lots of things. Yes, I was. I always call myself Susie High School because I did. First of all, I loved China Spring. I loved growing up in China Spring. And I wanted to be a part of everything. If I could sign up for it, I'd put my name down. So yes, I was a cheerleader. I was on the drill team. I played in the band. Friday nights were very interesting if you really kind of think about that.
Yeah, boy, you did it
that
all.
I did. Yeah, yes.
I'm surprised you didn't play quarterback.
Yeah, well, you know what? I just didn't have enough time to throw on the uniform. But yeah, and I was homecoming queen. You did
it all.
I did.
You did it all. You still have family there?
I do. So my mom still lives there. She still has her house out in China Spring. But yeah, I go back and try to visit as often as I can. She lives on 13 acres out there. Beautiful property. Nice. It's kind of like my escape from the city, but it's beautiful out there.
And your family growing up, did you have siblings? You an only child?
Only child.
All the attention.
Only child. Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, I would have had a brother that would have been about 3 years older than me, but he died when he was 9 months old.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And so my parents actually were not going to have, you can imagine the devastation of losing a child, a baby. My parents weren't planning to have another baby. And then, oops, here comes Heather.
Wow.
So they were like, yep, that's it. That's our miracle child. That's all we want. So,
a little foreshadowing for the conversation, and hopefully we'll go, because I want to talk about, somebody sees a person like Heather Easley on TV, and what they don't know is the hidden heartache and the hidden hard work,
Right.
Because that's kind of the story behind the story that people don't see. Well, boy, that starts it right there, hidden heartache. Obviously, you never knew that child, but that story has been with you and shaped your whole life, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I have been, my gosh, how much time do we have? I could sit here and talk about my mom forever. That woman is incredible. Like I said, she lost a child, and then she also lost 2 husbands. And I was blessed with 2 dads in my life. So my biological dad passed away when I was 11 years old. And then a few years later, my mom remarried, met my stepdad, who, I grew up with, who practically raised me. And I loved him. He died in 2020 from cancer, but he got to escort me on the field when I was homecoming queen. He got to walk me down the aisle. So,
Heather, how do you navigate that when you're 11 and then, as a young adult? I mean, those are obviously shaping, major, I don't know, is tragedy the right word? Heartache, is that the right word? Heartbreak?
Right.
How do you characterize those things?
I
say those things. That's a terrible. I'm struggling for some reason. How did an 11-year-old girl loses her dad and then later her stepdad?
Right. And 2 very meaningful people for me. Now, when I was a kid, I'll have people come to me, good friends that have lost their parents here recently as adults. And they'll come to me and say, well, you lost your father, both of your dads. And I'll say, well, I can relate to losing a parent, but when you're a kid, 11 years old, and to really kind of, not get too in depth here, but I was actually home alone when I found my dad when he passed away.
Wow.
And so, it's obviously tragic and exactly what's going on in the moment, but it's not until you get a little bit older that you're like, oh, wow. Like, I just want to go back and hug that 11-year-old little girl and just say, just know you're going to be okay. This is a wild situation that happened to you and very traumatic, but you're going to carry your dad with you throughout your life. And so, and I think about my dad every single day.
Well, and one reason you probably think about your dad, because if I got the story right, that you said, I want to grow up and be on TV, and he set up a little TV studio and a little anchor desk. Tell us that story. That's a great story.
Yeah, he did. It actually started off as a project for school. I can't remember exactly what the project was.
You must have been like 3rd or 4th grade or something.
Yes, I think I was in the 4th grade. I was in the 4th grade, and we had to do a project for class. And he always knew that I wanted to be a news anchor. And my mom actually worked nights, and so my dad would stay home with me during the day. And so I remember he told my mom, he's like, what do I do? What do I do with a girl? Like, what kind of game do I play Barbies with her? Mom's like, well, you know what? Just do what you do with any little kid, girl, boy, whatever she wants to do. And he said, all right, well, what do you want to do, Heather? What do you want to play? And I said, I want to play news anchor. Because I always watched the news anchors on TV, and I thought they were just beautiful and incredible and just so articulate. And I just wanted to be a news anchor. So whatever this project was I had to do for school, I said, well, I want it to be like I'm giving the news and weather and sports. And so Dad said, all right, say less. So he sets up in our dining room, he sets up like a news studio with a desk, and he even makes a backdrop and a sign for me. And he intros me, live at 5 with Heather Easley. And so it just took off from there. And then sometimes when I'd just be at home and we'd have really, nothing to do, or I was coloring or something, he'd say, well, you want me to set up the camera? We'll play news anchor. And I would just practice as a kid playing news anchor.
That's so crazy and wonderful and fun. Do you now pinch yourself and think, wait a second, I'm actually doing that? Or do you think it's an homage to your dad? Or do you think, okay, Dad did it. Check this out.
Yeah. No, I do. In fact, actually, I do remember this. When I got hired, the day I got hired, I walked out of the front of this building. I sat down in my car. First of all, I sobbed. And before I even picked up the phone to call my mom, I just sat there, and I remember I looked down in my lap and I said, we did it, Dad.
Oh, wow.
And I think about that every single day. I think about my dad every single day. I'm not kidding. I think there's something that pops up every day that makes me think of him. And what else is crazy to me is that in a little over 7 years, I'll be the same age as him when he passed away. And I think, what? 7 years, I mean, that's going to fly by like that. There is still so much life for me to live. And so I think another thing too that I always think about is when I wake up and, it's early and I want to complain and I think, first of all, I'm doing what I love. I'm doing what I've always dreamed of. And I know Dad is so proud. And I'm living, I feel like sometimes I'm living for him too, So.
Well, that's beautiful.
Thanks.
Just beautiful. Just
Thanks.
beautiful. Well, you talked about getting up early.
Yeah.
You're on the morning show. What time do you get up?
Well, and the ladies can relate to this. If I have to wash my hair in the morning, 1:30, but otherwise 2:00. And I'm usually sitting at my desk by 3.
Wow.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Wow.
And now the question I do get asked is why so early if the show doesn't start until 6? I don't think a lot of people realize that we get here and we actually put the show together. So the anchors put the show together.
It's not like you walk in, the show's done.
Right.
You have to, you build the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
You write your script, you figure out what stories you're going to run.
Yeah.
All right. So if you get up at 1:30 in the morning sometimes, what time do you have to go to bed?
And that is the hardest part. People hear 1:30 a.m. and go, what? And I said, no, get this. I have to be in bed with my eyes shut by 6 p.m. if I want to get a good solid 8 hours of sleep. And that is so hard for this night owl. I'm such a night owl. So even after 2 years of doing this, it's been a really hard adjustment, but I do it. And sometimes by Friday, I'm asleep by 2:30 p.m. So
yeah, because the weekends have to be tough. Because, your weekend, you have a normal schedule, but your sleep schedule isn't normal at all. Yeah. Maybe you catch naps or something and it works out, I hope.
Yeah, I can get a nap in there every once in a while. So
okay, so after high school, when you were Miss Everything, where'd you go from there? Because I know I want to. People are going to want to know, and they're going to want to hear the inside scoop on being a dancer for the San Antonio Spurs.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But you didn't go straight from high school to San Antonio Spurs, I'm assuming.
No, I went to college first. I knew that I wanted to dance in college. That was always a dream of mine, to dance on a college dance team. And so I actually started off 2 years at McLennan Community College. They had a phenomenal dance team. I wasn't keen on the idea of staying in my hometown because all my other friends were moving off and going out of state or going, around Texas. But I knew that is what was keeping me there. And I had to make that team. So I was there for 2 years and I made the dance team. And then I transferred to Stephen F. Austin and I was on their dance team. They're called the SFA Palm Squad. And we came so close both years that I was on it to win a championship in Daytona, Florida. But that was an amazing experience.
And when we say dance team, we're kind of talking about the same teams that we see like on those reality programs on Netflix that do all the cheering and the tumbling and the dancing, and you did all of that.
Right. Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And we were just a more like competitive and had more of like it's more jazz, hip hop type style.
So you were more on that, leaning that way than, the typical traditional tumbles and stuff you see at a football game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That was a different squad. They were also good. But yeah, we were just more stylized, I guess you could say. Like what you'd see at a Friday night football game. But,
and how did you decide you were going to do this? Because that has to be a pretty niche kind of thing, right? I mean, it's not everybody that does that.
Well, actually, to go back to my dad, when I was younger, my dad was like, well, I mean, do we put her in sports? Like, what do we do? Let me tell you, I tried, bless my sweet parents' heart, probably spent a lot of money on me trying out all these different sports, and I was not good at anything. I'm going to put it this way. I played on like a summer league basketball team when I was a kid for 6 years. I scored a total of 4 points. 4. Mm-hmm. 1 basket in my team's goal and another basket in the opposing team's goal. So that just kind of puts it into perspective. Thank goodness I had a little bit of rhythm because dance quickly became my thing. So
when you become a dancer for the San Antonio Spurs, did you go and give advice? Look, guys, I'm not much of an expert, but I know that you don't want to put a basket in the opponent's goal.
I'm like, listen, you want me to dance. You certainly don't want me to be on the basketball end of things.
So how did that come about? Did you just go down and audition to be a dancer down there? How did you do that?
Yeah, man, that was also quite a roller coaster. I knew when I graduated college, I knew I wasn't done dancing. There was just something still in me that I was like, I have to keep this up. This is just a passion of mine. So of course, when a, young girl's mind says, I want to dance professionally and I live in Texas, what's the first thing that pops in your head?
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders.
Right.
So I did. I went and tried out for Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders right out of college. Did not make it. In fact, I don't even think I made it past the first round that time I tried out.
Is that because it's so competitive?
It is so competitive. And there's hundreds of girls that show up. So tried out for that, didn't make it. And I thought, you know what? That's okay. I can always come back and try out again later.
So you're that good and you don't make the final cut to become a Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. That's really incredible.
It's very competitive, I will say. I mean, they do pick the cream of the crop.
But so do the Spurs.
Well, yes, absolutely. And that is an even smaller team. So there's only usually 15 women that make that team. And I do have to say now, probably a few years ago, they actually got rid of the all-women team. So now it's a co-ed team. So the Spurs Silver Dancers no longer
so
exist.
I have a chance.
You do. There's a chance.
No.
How's your hip-hop skills?
No, they're terrible.
Well, so Cowboys did not work out. And so I thought, you know what? That's okay. We're going to try something different. I had a friend that lived down in San Antonio. She was also dancing for the Spurs and loved it. And she said, come try out for Spurs. Give NBA a try. I get down there and I fell in love. I loved the style. I loved the people. I loved the organization. That was the era of Tim, Tony, and Manu. So it was incredible. 4 years, 4 of the greatest years of my life is what I always say. So
Tim Duncan, Manu Ginobili,
and Tony Park.
Tony Parkins. Wow.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to respond to that.
And 2007 was when they just won their last championship before I made the team. So we were coming off of that championship high. It was incredible. So.
And I'm sure David Robinson was walking around. And,
always.
Saw the Admiral.
Yeah. I got to meet George Strait. That is, anytime somebody says, well, there was lots of celebrities that came to the games, but people would say, well, who's the one that, you're most, hands down. He was from me to you. I mean, I had my back turned and I hear somebody in this real thick accent go, you're doing a good job, ladies. And I turned around and I could not, it was like somebody sucked the wind out of me. I was like, thank you, sir.
Wow. Did he sit down and you said, excuse me, but I think you've got my chair?
Oh, I missed opportunity.
Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. Well, you'll get another one. So, okay, you danced how many seasons for them? Because you didn't just dance. You did some broadcasting for them and some PA stuff for them. I mean, tell us about all that. I'm just fascinated. Yeah.
I was there for 4 seasons. Last 2 seasons as captain. I was selected as captain, and which was an incredible experience in itself. But so I studied broadcast journalism in college. And so obviously when I got out of college, and I knew that I wanted to dance somewhere, I thought, well, hopefully if I make a team, wherever I land, I can get some sort of broadcasting job there. I told our manager for Spurs, hey, I'm kind of looking around. Is there maybe a news station, somebody, that I could talk to? And he said, well, we might actually have an opportunity for you. And so at the time in San Antonio, we had a WNBA team, the Silver Stars, and then we also had an AHL hockey team, the San Antonio Rampage. And they were both looking for an in-arena host. And so I went in and I read a script and he was like, just so you know, this is all live and you're right there and all these eyes are looking at you. How can you be on the fly? And I loved it.
But I bet you're great at that. I mean,
I loved it. Yeah. I loved it.
Because we see that on TV with you, and we saw it with you and Clemente Morales when he was your meteorologist. We see it now with you and Carter Vendrasic. You guys do repartee off the cuff, and it's a lot of fun. You're great at it.
Yeah, well, thanks. Yeah. I do. I enjoy it. There is a big difference, though. Like, you're looking at a camera versus looking at thousands of people looking at you, and they're both equally an adrenaline rush, but they are a little different in that aspect, because first of all, if I run out onto this court, I'm thinking to myself, or ice. I mean, for the hockey games, I had to go
my gosh,
on the ice.
I thought about that.
Yeah.
How did that work?
I never fell, thank goodness. Thank goodness. But that was always the fear in the back of my mind.
See, and you're disrespecting your athletic prowess. There you are.
A little bit of grace.
You never fell on ice. That's pretty good.
Somehow. Yeah,
but there is kind of a connection between what you do now and dancing, in that there's pressure, eyes are on you. You do. Yeah. So I don't know. Did you make the connection at that time thinking, hey, I'm a dancer and now I'm the in-arena hostess and I'm the hostess with the mostest and,
Yeah.
did you figure all that out or you were just doing it? You just hadn't figured out where you were headed yet?
Exactly. No, I mean, I knew ultimately the goal was to get to a news station. I knew I ultimately wanted to be a news anchor, but I was starting to love the sports world and just all the live action and just everything kind of in your face and on the cuff. And it would be like, all right, Heather, oh, we've got this 30-second timeout. Run out and say something to the fans. And I'd be like, okay. All right, Rampage fans, who wants a t-shirt? And they're going out and they're throwing t-shirts and, who can be the loudest? This section over here, this section over here. And so I'm just kind of having to come up with this stuff on the fly. And it's all an adrenaline rush, and I think that's what I feed off of. Even before a show, people still ask me, do you get nervous before a show? And I say, I don't get nervous. It's just that that adrenaline rush. I mean, if you'll never see this on camera, but I know they see it in the studio. You'll kind of see me go, good morning. And thank you for, it's kind of like I have to push the I don't want to say a weight, but it's just like that adrenaline that sits right here. And I'd feel that before running on the court to dance or running on the court to do, some sort of MC event.
So how in the world did Abilene get lucky enough that you came to Abilene? Because it seems to me you could have easily found a gig or your next step in San Antonio.
Well, okay. So this is where I get personal, and I don't mind sharing my story here because obviously everything really does happen for a reason. And now that I'm here, I get to look back and go, oh,
now you figured it out.
That's why that happened. Yeah. Yes.
You did.
So I spent 4 years in San Antonio. At the time, I actually ended up meeting someone who lived in Dallas, who I dated for those 4 years, long distance. We ended up getting engaged. I moved to Dallas and to get married. And obviously I kind of had the thought in my mind, well, when I get there, I'll start applying for news jobs. Well, another kind of, I say side gig, this was actually Spurs was technically my side gig. Spurs Dancers was my side gig along with all the in-arena hosting. I worked as a full-time teacher at New Braunfels High School. I was the drill team director. So dance and news have always...
My mind you just blew my mind. So you're teaching full-time at New Braunfels and doing all this other stuff. No wonder you're able to handle a sleep deprivation schedule. I don't know how you slept then.
I was a lot younger, so I think I handled it better. And these little bags I travel with were a little bit lighter, but I did. We still had to have a full-time job, or either that or be a full-time student while dancing for Spurs, because it certainly did not pay the bills.
And so your thought going to Dallas was, I'll get a job in TV, do something.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was my thought. I spent those, 4 years also teaching at New Braunfels. So that was kind of in the back of my mind is, well, I've always wanted to get back into news. So maybe this is my opportunity once I move to Dallas. However, if something happens and I need to teach again somewhere in Dallas, that's an option. So of course I'm kind of looking around, and Dallas is a tough market. It's a big market, and so I'm putting my reel and my resume out there. And I had a friend come to me and say, well, hey, there's a high school in Richardson, Texas, right there in the suburb of Dallas. And they are looking for a dance team director to fill in for the current director who's on maternity leave. Would you be interested? And I said, oh, sure. You know what? Yeah, I'll try it. So I'm there for about a year and helping out the drill team. And then they end up hiring me as the assistant. Then they come to me about a year after that and say, well, hey, the co-ed country western dance team now needs a full-time director because their director's leaving. Would you be interested in taking that over? And I said, I've only ever coached girls, like a co-ed country western dance team. I don't know. I was like, let me go see what this is all about. I sat in for one practice and I said, I have to be a part of this. This is incredible. And it is. It is high school juniors and seniors. They still exist to this day. They're called the Mustang Stampede, and they are the coolest team in the entire world. And I love and adore that team. I am so thankful for my time there. So all of this to say, I ended up taking this job and I kind of went, news will be in the future, hopefully. So I kind of put that on the back burner, and I spent in total 12 years teaching high school. So I coached that team and I taught dance classes as well.
And it had to be a lot of fun.
Oh my
gosh. A lot of work.
Oh my gosh.
But a lot of fun.
Yes. Oh, if y'all ever get a chance, just Google Mustang Stampede, Richardson, Texas, and your mind will be blown. They're incredible. So anyways, I was very glad I got to do that.
Make a note, Travis. Make a note. Love it.
Yeah.
So you do this for a long time.
I do.
Different places. You do the Stampede, boys and girls. And at some point you must have said, I really still want to get back at an anchor desk and do TV.
Yes. So this is where I said, it'll get a little personal here, but around 2016, I was still coaching and everything, still living in Dallas, but that's when I decided to get a divorce. And, I say these things happen because obviously, like, if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be here. I probably would not have decided, come 2020 to stop teaching. And actually during COVID, for spring break, I said goodbye to my students that year, and then I never saw them again. Wow. And I come 2021, the start of the next school year, I had to kind of make that decision. Do I want to do this? And do I want to teach dance on a computer at home? And ultimately, I thought, no, I've had 12 good years of teaching. Now is my time. This is it. This is my time to start looking for this dream job that I've always wanted. And so at this point, I had gotten a divorce. I was living on my own. And I thought, I just don't know if Dallas is where I'm supposed to be. So I ended up packing up all my stuff and I moved back home and I moved in with my mom. That was tough because at that point I was 36 years old. I was living back at home and I thought, what am I doing with my life? And I was unemployed. I didn't even once I left Dallas, I didn't even have a job set up. I just said, I'll figure it out. And so I got home and I remember sitting in my old bedroom, still has my mom's hanging on the wall, my high school bedroom, sitting in my bedroom and just sobbing. And I thought, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go from here? Why did I do this?
But undergirding all of this, I know you're a person of faith.
Absolutely.
You've got to be thinking, I don't want to plunge into a pit I can't get out of, but a pit's not a bad place to be because in that despair, you really do hear voices very clearly. And is that your experience?
Yeah. And that's, I knew that there was something for me. There had to be. I just knew it. I kind of had to do a mindset shift because I was playing this rhetoric in my head that was like, you're a loser, you're not going anywhere. I mean, I don't want my story to sound like, oh, look at all these wonderful and great things that I've done in my life, because I have, and I'm so thankful for them. But just like everybody else, we kind of hit our own rock bottoms and you go, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
There's only up from here. And so, like I said, 2020 was a tough year, COVID. And I was sending out my reel and my resume and nothing, crickets. I didn't hear from any news directors. I mean, I probably sent my resume to 100 different news stations. I didn't hear a peep. So once again, I go back to that. Nobody wants me. I'm not good enough.
Because when you're in the pit and you hear those voices clearly, some of them are dark voices.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, some of them are real dark. And I was starting to play the dark. The dark voices were getting a little bit louder than the lighter voices. And I remember talking to my best friend, and I called her on the phone. We were talking on the phone, and I'm crying to her on the phone. And I told her, I said, I just feel like a loser. And I remember she goes, take just a second and think about all the things you have done in your life. And she was like, Heather, I would never be best friends with a loser. And she said, pick yourself up and figure this out, because that's all you can do. You can either feel sorry for yourself or you can pick yourself up. She's like, and you've done it numerous times. She's like, think about after the divorce and think about after you lost your dad. Like so many lows have brought all of these highs. And I thought to myself, well, I'm going to keep sending my resume and my reel and doing all of that and looking for a job because I need a job. And at this point, I had been, unemployed for probably about 6 months. And I thought, but you know what? I've got money in the bank. I love to travel. I'm going to do that. I'm going to travel. And so I spent, and most of 2020, and I know some people might go, oh, why would she do that? Travel during COVID. But you know what? As long as the planes were flying, I was probably going to be on one. So I did. I got to go on a lot of solo trips. I got to go on a lot of trips with girlfriends. I mean, I lived it up during that time that I wasn't working, because I knew at some point I was going to be in a position where I probably couldn't do that anymore. So I took advantage of that time, and I'm so glad I did.
That's so fascinating that at a time where a lot of people just decided to stay home and kind of delve into that, place where you're just alone and quiet, you said, look, I may be alone, but I'm not going to be quiet, and I'm going to go.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating.
Yes. The alone and quiet was getting to me. So I had to be, we're not by ourselves or with ourselves. So I had to go be with myself, but doing something, seeing new places. I got to see like Seattle for the first time, and just that was kind of my medicine, my cure.
So at some point you must have gotten a call either from somebody at the TV station here, or you called somebody at the TV station here. And I know that we're both blessed that our general manager is a very creative, outside the box thinker, Albert Gutierrez, and he is. He's a vice president and general manager of Nexstar Media, and he oversees several markets, including Abilene. Did you talk to him first, or who'd you talk to?
No. So, like I said, sent so many of my resumes out, as many as I possibly could, didn't hear a word back. Starting to feel defeated. But I remember it was December of Christmas of 2023. Yeah, because I got hired in 24. Or at the end of that year. I'm sitting at dinner with some friends. We always get together for Christmas and have like a little annual Christmas dinner. At this point, still, I'm sorry. I was not unemployed at the time. In the interim, I worked for Google for a while.
Okay.
In their recruiting department. So I did go unemployed for a little bit and lived it up, and then I ended up getting a job with Google.
You just Googled Google and worked for
right.
Google.
Hey, Google, how do I work for Google? I actually had a friend two friends that worked for Google, and so they helped me get that position there. So that was nice.
Cool.
Work from home job. Yeah. And I literally could just take my laptop and go and take it with me when I would travel. So that was really cool.
And they got internet in China Spring.
They do, surprisingly. We just got it like last year, but
that sounds far worse than it was intended. I just mean, we got it here in Abilene too. It's kind of, you can go anywhere.
It's a little spotty
That's really
sometimes.
what I meant. I didn't mean to say China. That's really terrible. Let's do a redo.
We do have the interwebs, Danny, and
the
China
interwebs
Springs.
and China Springs. Yeah,
we can Google things from time to time.
I like it. Okay, so you're working for Google.
Yes.
You're doing this Christmas. Were you at the Christmas party? You got a call or something, or how did that?
No, I told my friends. I said, I just have this good feeling. I said, and I'd been kind of on and off LinkedIn and kind of looking for stuff on LinkedIn, and I had gotten a message from a man who was a retired news anchor, and he had just sent me something because I went to SFA. He went to Sam Houston. And so he sent me something about like our rivalry. Yeah. And I don't even know. I think when I was on LinkedIn at one point, I was just connecting with whoever I possibly could just to make these connections.
Networking.
Right? Exactly. And I happened to connect with him. Well, I hadn't been on LinkedIn for probably 2 months. And I just happened to get on, and I saw that I had a message, like a 2-month-old message from this man that had, he was just kind of poking like, rivals or something like that. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, retired news anchor. Let me just reach out to him. Let me ask advice. At that point, that's what I was looking for. I wrote him a message that said, here's what I'm trying to do. I've basically been out of the game for 12 plus years. Is this unrealistic? Am I like shooting way beyond the stars here? Is there an opportunity, do you think? I just need someone to see some potential in me. And mind you, my reel and resume was from, 2008. So we're really outdated at this point. But he said, well, send me your stuff. And he was like, I think I might know somebody that I can connect you with. And I said, okay. And the next day, I have an email from Albert Gutierrez, and he says, would love to meet up with you. can you come to Abilene next week?
I'm really having an emotional reaction to this. I really am. I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
I'm teary-eyed.
I'm trying to fight the tears because even talking
really,
about it. Yes.
wow.
And speaking of tearing up, I honestly thought that Albert was inviting me to just come check out the news station. Like, we'll give you a tour. And of course, he's asking me all these questions and I treated it like an interview, right? But then I wasn't thinking like, well, maybe they're hiring. I hadn't looked that far. It was a whirlwind. It happened so quickly from literally one day to the next. All of a sudden I was in Abilene, a town I had never been in before. I've never even been to Abilene before. I think I'd driven through it when I was a kid. But, here I am in this news station. I am meeting all of the news anchors. I mean, I was here for a full day. I got to sit in on a morning show, which I had no idea at one point that was going to be the show that I was going to be anchoring.
At the time, it was anchored by Monica Diaz-Meeks.
Yes, and Clemente Morales.
Clemente Morales.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, good. I'm sorry. Getting the timeline in my head.
Yes, that's right. I got to sit in on that. I got to sit in on the news meetings, and I got to meet all the anchors. I got to have just a one-on-one sit down with Manny Diaz, who was the news director at the time, and then Victor Sotelo, our assignments director. And I actually remember I really enjoyed my conversation with all of them, but Victor stood out in my mind because I asked him, I said, well, what are you looking for in a reporter? And the way he lit up, like you can tell that man loves this business. And I remember thinking to myself as I'm sitting there listening to him, like I felt like I was interviewing Victor. As I'm sitting there listening to him talk about it, I thought, these people love this and this is where I want to be. And without sounding cheesy, but truly, I was like, this is where I want to be. And so at the end of the day, like 4 p.m., I go and sit down in the conference room with Albert and Manny, and I thought we were just going to have a little debrief. And Albert was like, well, what'd you think? How'd you like it? And I said, this is incredible. Like, it's wonderful. I love it here. I love all the people. And he said, well, I went around and I kind of took a general poll of what everybody thought. And he was like, and I've looked over your resume and your reel. And he goes, I think you'd be a good fit. And I said, for what?
Oh my God, that's fantastic. That is beautiful.
And I said, are you offering me a job? And I think he was kind of shocked too. He was like, well, yeah.
I guess I am.
And I was just in shock. I mean, I have a big cheesy grin anyways, but I felt like that thing was plastered on my face.
And what people need to understand is now we've caught up to your timeline. I remember this, and you entered this TV station as a reporter and earned your chops like other reporters. And there was zero guarantee that you would be an anchor.
Right.
There was zero guarantee that you'd get offered a second contract or anything. It's like every report, it's a meritocracy. You're out there working, and it didn't take long for all of us to figure out, oh, wow, this Heather, she's got something. Yeah. And that was fun. And then Monica Diaz-Meeks leaves. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they ran to your reporter desk, if they texted you immediately, but pretty quickly, you had done some guest sitting and filling in already. Yeah. But yeah, you took over the morning spot there where you are now on KRBC, and no looking back.
No looking back.
And we talk about it internally, not you and me yet so much, but just all of us here in the building. So I'm sure you're having the conversations too about our business is changing so much, and what does the future look like? And who knows? But, whatever happens, you'll be fine because, you've ridden these waves with a pretty sturdy surfboard, and you've done really well.
Thank you.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
You, of course, Abilene would really be, it would be a real blow to the TV station in Abilene if you moved on. But we all know you're going to get those kind of offers and conversations. So I'm just telling you that she's not available, and she's going to say no. She wants to stay in Abilene the rest of her career, and that's that. So thank you for joining us. That's all. Yeah.
The end.
The end. Yeah. Because who knows where you go, you know? I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I just said and told you, I mean, I've never had the opportunity to just sit down with somebody and say, want to hear my story? So it's been cool, like getting to kind of relive, like I said, the ups and downs and how I did kind of have to pick myself up multiple times and why this happened. Because, you always ask why.
Yeah.
Why on earth did this happen? Why is this happening to me? Trust that there is a process. God has got you. And those that are up there looking out for you have got you. And it always leads you to, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you have a vibe about you that says, and you've even used the words in conversation with me about, I do believe in manifesting things because you set your heart and mind to it.
Mm-hmm.
What's curious to me is how somebody so well put together manifests things, dreams, sits through the doubting times, comes out on top. How is it you have a little dog the size of a smaller than a toaster oven with the personality of a Doberman? How is this possible?
Yes.
Because I've met your dog and he does not like me.
Danny, sometimes he doesn't like me. He is very selective on who and when he wants to like certain people. And what's funny, I didn't even mean to get a dog, but thank God I have Harold because he just lights up my world. Sassiness and all. My best friend wanted to get a dog. And so she asked me if I wanted to just come look at puppies with her. Tell me how I leave with a dog and she doesn't.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, she manifested that.
She manifested that for me. Little did I know. And here he is, just sassy as ever. But yeah.
So, and you may not think in terms like this because I'll just go and ask it. Do you think, where do you want to be in 10 years or you don't think in terms like that so much?
Hopefully in 10 years, I'm, still telling my stories, whether it's on camera or just through how I live my life.
Yeah.
Because I still have a lot of life to live and I'm really excited for it. And considering all the things that I've done in my life up to almost 40, I'll be 40 in February, which is wild to me because in my mind I'm 25 still. Up until all these 40 years, I feel like I've done so many cool things and I'm so thankful for them. And I couldn't have done them without the people that saw something in me. I wasn't the best dancer. I wasn't the best teacher, but those people, and I'm still not the best news anchor too. There's things I work on every day. Every single day at the end of the show, I go back and go, okay, well, I probably could have done that differently or could have stacked that differently. I could have said that differently. I could have changed my inflection on this. We're our hardest critic, right? But I don't know. I wouldn't be here without the people that have believed in me. And hopefully for the next 10 years, there are more people that believe and see what I can do. And that's where I end up, wildly fulfilled and mildly famous, right?
Yeah. And I think that's the perfect answer. And I think the sky's the limits for you.
Thank you.
I think you'll go wherever you want to go. But we know that's right here in Abilene, Texas.
Abilene,
because she's not leaving.
Texas.
She signed a 20-year contract. Very rare in our industry for somebody to sign a 20-year contract. We're so thankful that you've done this.
I'm thankful for Abilene. Yeah. I love when I meet people. People are so nice. Everybody is so nice when I meet them. I am short in real life. That is the one thing I always get. People come up to me and go, "Oh,
you're shorter than I thought."
The magic of television. Carter is tall. I do have to stand on like a 3-inch.
So, hey, and you get noticed like in town? You're having that moment now where people say, "Hey, I see you on TV," right?
Yes. Yeah. So it's nice. And I welcome it. I'm like, yes, come say hi. I love it. I love to know that people are watching.
Yeah.
That's what we do it, right?
Yeah. And, but you've lived in that world for a while, and when let's end it this way. China Springs, you're a big girl on campus involved in everything and everybody knows you, right?
Yeah.
You go to the Spurs and you're in an arena where 18,000 people know you and see you. And if you're walking down the corridor, people are waving at you or talking to you. Hey, you're the girl on the big screen on the Jumbotron. And that's the same for the WNBA team and the hockey team and all. And then you go to a high school where all the students know you and so you're living in that kind of public space, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go to home for a period of time where you're figuring out what's next. Mm-hmm. And now all of a sudden you're in a very public stage again.
Mhm.
Has that transition been a little odd or no? Just kind of normal?
It feels right to me. It's always felt right. Even when I was a little kid, I would make all my family sit down at gatherings and I'd say, okay, everybody watch me. And I would just get on the fireplace and like do a little dance. And obviously that's not, it's not why I do it. But I will say I do love just that, like you said, kind of that
Yeah.
public aspect of it.
Yeah.
It feeds me. It fulfills me. It gives me that, like I said, that just rush. And I love it. It's such a great feeling.
Yeah. Wow. Heather Easley. What a conversation.
Thanks.
Abilene People. One of Abilene's most interesting people.
Well, thank you.
Right here. And again, so blessed she signed a 20-year contract. That's great. That's just great. So I want to say thank you for joining us here on Abilene People, and a big shout out to our ace producer, Travis Corrigan, a young man we call TC or TCB for taking care of business. That is Travis Corrigan. He's running the switcherboard over there, doing everything he does. And we're thankful for that and thankful for you being with us, Heather Easley.
Thank you for having me. And thank you, Abilene, for waking up with me.
I like it. I like it. Every day.
Every day.
What time you go on TV every morning?
6 a.m.
And again at 11:30.
Yes, sir.
You can see Heather Easley every weekday on KRBC. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Annie Sims. We will be back again with another one of Abilene's most interesting people right here on Abilene People. Have a great day.